I'm going to go ahead and call the meeting to order. If we can, Griffin, sorry, 6:35. If we can all stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. Tom, would you mind leading us?
Sure.
Okay, we're going to move on to reviewing the meeting minutes from the October 7th Board of Education meeting. Any comments on the meetings? Any feedback? Okay, seeing none, we're going to go ahead and move on to public commentary. At this time, for agenda items only. And while Laura signs in, I will just remind it seems we have some new people here today. So I'll remind everyone that during public commentary that we do not call board members, administration, or other community members or groups to task, that we keep the focus on the comment to the Board of Education directly. We're going to give 3 minutes for each public commentary. And we would like for you, if when you get up there, to sign in the sheet and then also state your name and address. I don't think that's on.
I'm sorry, Laura, if you hit the bottom button, sorry about that.
Tap the bottom, Laura.
Did
There
you?
you go.
Testing.
Yeah, good to go.
Thank you. Laura Egner. I prefer not to state my address
Okay.
for personal reasons. The power of one leads to the power of many. That was stated by Geralt Saldano. I've been standing up since May when a child was harassed over a mask, and I was instrumental in getting outside masks rescinded here at Bedford. I've been to school board meetings, and I've spoken several times before, sent emails, protested, been on TV, and I feel you are not listening to us parents that do not want our children masked. There are kids that cannot physically, medically, or emotionally wear a mask all day to school. Masks are harmful to kids in many ways. Masks do not help prevent COVID, listed right on the box. It is also a medical device and should only be implemented from a medical order or a law. Please explain why we need a doctor note to take the mask off, but not to put it on. You have not shown us the documented and peer-reviewed evidence that wearing the mask will mitigate the COVID virus. To date, no one has ever isolated the COVID virus, so not sure how one can mitigate something that cannot be proven to exist. By restricting kids that cannot wear a mask from school with no notice on Sunday night, especially when in writing said that masks are optional, with parents unable to get a doctor exemption note at the last minute when they didn't know one would be required to attend school, and with no backup plan to educate these Bedford students, Bedford is discriminating against them and have effectively kicked these kids out of school. Their only options are to stay home, leave the school district, or homeschool. A sad reality to think about. We have to wear a mask or show our medical papers to come into school. This sounds a lot like communism within a supposedly free country. In addition, the quarantining of healthy kids has also discriminated against these kids from their education. The extent of quarantining healthy kids and teachers has caused numbers of kids per day to drop, and staff, so that the district is close to closing as well. Are you not supposed to be providing education to all Bedford children without discrimination? I understand that there is no virtual option for school this year, which is sad. So much for no more snow days. If the numbers of illnesses are that bad, then you need to close the school for a short time, as you've done in the past for other illnesses, and do a deep clean of the school, especially when we all know that masks do not prevent the illness, and so therefore keeping the school open actually is unsafe for our students, and this could open the school up to liability for remaining open. System-wide masking was not necessary, and there is no health order from our governor nor the health department for it either. So under what legal authority is there for mandating masking? Because there is no law that gives the power to force anyone to mask or to quarantine, you have zero authority to do these. Michigan Bills 600 to 603 have been approved by the state Senate and are on their way to the state House of Representatives. These lawmakers are stating that masking and quarantining are illegal to do. Due to these facts, parents that I am associated with have retained a lawyer who filed many other similar cases in Michigan and has agreed to take on our case. He is awaiting our answer after what is decided at the meeting tonight. Parents are standing up, and we have had enough. Thank you.
Thanks, Laura. Any other public commentary?
What is the definition of urgent? What does that mean?
It's anything on the agenda, so we have COVID policy. Yeah, it's anything on the agenda.
All right, can I go?
Sure.
Alrighty, I'll start. Hello, my name is Jeremy Vance. I prefer not to give out my address for personal reasons publicly. I'm a father of a student of this school district. We, the people of this community, come here today from all walks of life to unite to fight for our right of freedom of choice. This is a God-given freedom and is a fundamental building block of a free society. No government, school board, or superintendent gets to decide what is right for our children, period. Face coverings are ineffective and may cause more harm than good. Studies have shown that face coverings increase the secondary bacterial pneumonia, which was the leading cause of death during the 1918 Spanish flu. May cause hypoxia, which is low oxygen level in the blood. Hypercapnia, which is elevation in blood carbon dioxide. And may even create a threatening or unsafe environment for the students, where emotional connection becomes difficult. On the box provided by the face covering for my son's face mask, it states, this mask is not a medical device or a substitute for medical grade or approved protective equipment. Not intended for use on children under 2 years of age. This face mask is not for surgical or industrial use. It is not intended for use in a clinical setting where the infection risk level through inhalation is high. This is not a toy used under adult supervision. The box itself says it does not work. Provided by the CDC's website, pediatric deaths by state as of January 1st, 2020 until today, October 28, 2021, there have been 11 recorded deaths in the state of Michigan due to COVID for age group 0 through 17. 11 deaths. The mortality rate, K through 12, is 0.00003%. It is extremely rare for a child to die from COVID, and they're more likely to die from cancer, vehicle accidents, suicide, homicide, cardiovascular disease, drowning, the flu, and pneumonia. One child's death is one too many, but these numbers are far from a pandemic. This is a fear campaign designed to take control of every aspect of our lives, and we are not afraid anymore. I find it interesting that these new rules were put into place right after the school fundraiser, which we raised over $11,000. Is this how you thank your community? Is this how you treat a registered voter? I know 4 votes you will be losing if you keep continuing these insane draconian rules. I am prepared to withdraw my student from the school district, send them to private school, homeschool, or pack up and even move. When it comes to my child's rights, I have no limit. I will always encourage the parents to be bold, be brave, and God bless America.
Hello and good evening.
Board members, parents, and attendees, my name is Donald Goins, and I'm a first-time participant in these proceedings. I'm a single father to a 9-year-old fourth-grade student at Douglas Road Elementary, and up until this point, I have remained content when checking his homework and corresponding with faculty, believing that we were in a best-intentioned situation regarding response to authoritarian ambitions filtered through mass medical exploitation. Now, that particular description may not be shared opinion among all my peers within the parental demographic, but I stand here before you today to provide clarity as to why this is a perspective that I adhere to with ardent conviction, as it highlights both severity and urgency regarding our present circumstances. You see, as of Monday morning, October 25th, my faith concerning intent began to wilt, and as of now has faltered to a state of just shy of non-existence. I received a call informing me that our school system had regressed back into a forced compliance of pulmonary perversion. I say this, of course, in reference to the reimplementation of the mask all children policy currently in effect in the halls of the institutions that we trust to educate the ones we love most. It was explained to me that this was the immediate district response to a small spike in local COVID-19 cases. I then inquired as to the symptomatic effect of said new cases, but not surprisingly, there was no information available. The caller went on to explain to me that my son was asked to put on a facial covering, to which he politely declined, stating that he has an asthmatic condition, would rather not, and that his dad, that's me, does not approve of such practices, in large part for that specific reason. The discussion continued for some minutes going forward, but at its conclusion, we decided that my son would be summoned to the main office, that I would arrive promptly to collect and bring him home. Although this was not ideal, as he had completed his entire third grade experience via Zoom room meetings as a direct result of last year's overreach policies, we could adjust and return to an at-home Chromebook format for the time being. It was a feasible solution, albeit a temporary one. On Wednesday, October 27th, I received another call, this time inquiring as to why my son was absent from the attendance list. I explained and was told that a correction would be made, and that was that. Approximately 1 hour later, my phone lit up again. This time, the party beckoning was the assistant principal. This is where circumstance would deviate into the realm of the unacceptable. Now, I have nothing derogatory to claim to the individual to whom I spoke, only the message conveyed. Our conversation was both civil and mutually sympathetic. At its conclusion, we each wished the other a good day and disconnected with a great deal of food for thought. However, what I was told was that due to my son's noncompliance and subsequent exile, his absences would be marked unexcused, and he would soon be dealing with truancy issues of a prosecutorial nature. This is unacceptable. This is where freedom becomes farce and where edict becomes evil. This is where we as parents must make our voices heard. Freedom equals choice, and our children deserve to grow up in a world where that still means something. We cannot stand idle as our choice is taken from us, as our children are subjected to the medical and social experimentation under threat of prosecution. We've had enough. I'm still baffled by an institution claiming to be an educational in nature that promotes the application of pulmonary inhibitors to the chlorulating facial areas of adolescents who, by definition, are still experiencing respiratory growth and development. We as human beings are biologically designed to exhale and banish respiratory waste. How can anyone of sound mind ponder that question and still curry favor for such practice? This is where I was tempted to insert the phrase, especially those with an asthmatic condition. However, being that 100% of the individuals in question are comprised anatomically of systems that have yet to reach full maturity, this abuse, tactically speaking, on a microbial level is all-inclusive. Just listen to any Flonase or Nasacort commercial. The detrimental effects by re-ingestion, as well as a plethora of other variables, can be explained in under 2 minutes. Thank you. That's all from me.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. By now, pretty much everyone knows who I am. My name is Ryan McKee, and I choose to decline to give my address because I've given it 5-6 times before. For personal reasons, I choose to decline. So, Dr. Schultz, ladies and gentlemen of the board, good evening. I come here tonight as a parent with a heavy heart. Sunday evening, I had to look into my 11-year-old daughter's eyes and basically tell her that I wasn't sure if she would be returning to a normal school environment as she has come to know and love. She was instantly crushed, filled with sadness and despair. More to the point, she was heartbroken. Seeing this, I echoed her sentiment in my own heart. She absolutely loves going to school, but cannot and will not tolerate wearing a mask. While wearing a mask, she experiences a high level of anxiety, moderate headache, and difficulty breathing. This comes to me as no surprise and is something I will not abide by. For these reasons, among others, we decided to have our daughter go with virtual learning last year. As neither my wife or myself are educators, this was a struggle for our family. We managed to push through and complete the school year, but it was not without challenges. However, this year, no virtual option is currently in place either for students who are currently under quarantine or for those whose parents choose not to mask their children all day for in-person learning. With the amount of COVID relief funds received by the district, just shy of $5 million, this is completely unacceptable. Why was no plan put into place for these situations before implementing this ridiculous mandate? Superintendent made a unilateral decision without even so much as putting it to a vote by the board. According to the accounts of several people I trust, members of this board were informed as of Saturday evening, but us lowly parents, however, were informed Sunday afternoon, leaving us less than 24 hours to make plans and decide if we were going to subject our daughter to all-day child abuse at the hands of an asinine mask mandate. We chose not to. We were told as parents over the summer by the superintendent that this district is complying with a mandate from the state level. We were encouraged to take our fight to the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services. Back in August, as I've said before, the Michigan State Board of Education adopted the resolution which stated that any decision regarding masking was to be left up to each individual school districts. Furthermore, last month, Senate Bill 82, as far as I know, was signed into law by the governor, which basically mirrored that same statement. Now, this mask mandate being implemented by the leadership of this district, we know where to take the fight to. Lastly, I would like to reiterate what I've said to this board and Dr. Schultz in the past. Should all-day masking, testing, or vaccinations be required for in-person learning, we will be forced to unenroll our daughter from this district. With us taking that action, over $10,000 in funding will be going as well. And that's just with our one child alone. A couple meetings ago, a particular board member was quick to praise the superintendent for all the hard work he's done in relation to making sure the district is financially solvent. Our concerns as parents against these masking measures and the possibility of an implementation of vaccine mandate, for me, seem to pale in comparison to the hard work that the superintendent has put in to make sure this district didn't go broke. Pardon me for suggesting that my concerns as a parent are valid. I want you all to keep something in mind when it comes to funding. You may have already received the funding based on count day statistics from this year. But if I am forced to unenroll my daughter from Bedford Public Schools, we will not be back. Then you will truly know how it feels to be without proper funding. Thank you.
Thanks, Brian.
Good evening. My name is Jeff Wente, address not given this evening. Members of the board, Dr. Schultz. Looks like most of the parents here, Sunday night, we were in shock. We thought we were going in the right direction this year, just as everybody did. Being a salesman, my numbers, it's percentages for me. I track percentages. I got to know what it is, margins. I'm a numbers guy. So when we got the email on Sunday night, my first thought was, I'm going to look at the numbers from day one of this year. I want to know what it looks like as percentages, tracking, where are we heading to. So I pulled up the COVID dashboard, and I started going day by day, week by week, and spreadsheeting it. And for anybody that's not aware, it hasn't done anything like that, at no point in time this year, including currently, have we been at anything less than 95% attendance as a result of quarantines. We have never gone over, I believe it's 4.5% of students being out at one time because of quarantines. We've also maintained a relatively low number of cases. I think as of today, we're sitting at, I believe it's 208. Again, as a percentage, that is less than 5% of the total population of the school that has been negatively affected by a COVID diagnosis this year. 0.0% have died or gotten incredibly ill. We are also, you know, I guess to go back, I was expecting Monday morning when the numbers got reported, after reading the email, I expected to see a big spike. I said, okay, there's got to be a reason for this. Well, here we are on Thursday. There's been no significant spike. Our numbers maintained relatively flat. Actually, as a matter of fact, the number of quarantines in the last couple of days has gone down, which would not happen overnight with this mandate. It wouldn't happen that fast. So we're just trending on a normal pattern here. Nothing indicates a spike or cause for this change. And then come Tuesday, to everybody's surprise, we have 6 districts in Northwest Ohio that have opted to drop their mask mandate and go to a no mandate, including our very close neighboring district of Sylvania. These, if you look at the 6th district, they are affluent, well-educated areas. These are people that are perfectly capable of doing research and making a very educated decision. And their educated decision is that masks do not work. They are not needed. Another interesting statistic that I did find when I was going through everything, and there's been a lot of mention of funding and pulling kids and you name it. If you run through the or the quarantines, the largest single day increase in cases was on October 4th, Monday morning. There was a 15 case increase. As a result of that, you should have seen a large number of increased quarantines. The quarantines did not come until, I believe it was the 7th, which ironically is one day after count day on October.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, I'm Joe Kopsiak. I'll defer my address for personal reasons. I have a kindergartner at Monroe Road, and he has some underlying health issues that are actually quite serious. I had a pretty big draft written up before this, and it kind of went way down because I figured we'd have a lot of good facts and everything floating around. So I just picked a couple little ones. I got a single viron of SARS-CoV-2 is about 60 to 140 nanometers or 0.1 microns. The pore size of a surgical mask is 200 to 1,000 times that size. Consider that the CDC website states surgical masks do not catch all harmful particles in smoke. And that size of the smoke particle in a wildfire are 0.5 microns, which are 5 times that of the SARS-CoV-2 virus. So wearing a mask to prevent the SARS-CoV-2 or a similar sized influenza virus is like throwing sand through a chain link fence. There's your size comparison. You know, stand there with your eyes open and see how you fare. Not going to be good. Another little one that I kind of liked is how we. It seems that the cafeterias are being mask-free zones, obviously, so you can eat and everything. So you have all those people together, and I just think that I'm a COVID particle floating around, hunting people down, classroom to classroom, in the hallways, in the library. I'm getting everybody. And then, oh, it's the cafeteria. Let's get out of here. That's an off-limit zone. It's got to be all the time or not at all, and trust me, it needs to be not at all. So, although these masks hinder the health and safety and development of all of our children, and I don't agree with their use for any child, I'm really here to advocate for my son and other children with medical conditions and disabilities. There are many children in the schools that have real reasons for not being able to wear these masks. And the biggest problem with this is although there's provisions to get a medical mask exemption, they're not obtainable. And the reason for that is there's no pediatricians out there willing to sign off on these medical exemptions because of the associations and institutions they belong to. Not because of their views, not because of how they treat their patients, only because of what they say. These guidelines were written by doctors that have never seen, met, or even evaluated any of these patients. We moved on to our specialists who we're waiting for a response for, and I got this back from him. Hey Joe, just got the message regarding the mask exemption for Bryce. Thanks so much for sending it over. Can you give me a little more context about the exception? There have been a few approved reasons for mask exemptions from our institution standpoint. I'm just trying to get an idea if he would qualify, as my hands are tied of what I can authorize. The doctor cannot treat his patient. It is written ahead of time. He has not been evaluated by these people. These doctors are not treating their patients. I've heard this from many many other parents and everything, asthma, other things, that there's no reason for it, and they cannot obtain these medical exemptions that could possibly save their life, as there are many medical conditions that can be exacerbated by this and cause a life threat. Thank you.
Thanks, Joe.
Hi, my name is Elizabeth Hobbs. I am an upset, angry grandparent. I have 4 grandchildren. Don't mind me getting upset here. They go to this school. I'm a victim of this tyranny. I ended up rushed to the hospital by ambulance in intensive care because of the mask. Bacteria went into my lungs, then traveled throughout my bloodstream. I had MRSA. And you're masking our children. Do you know what you look like with that mask on? Do you know what you're breathing in? Do you know what you're doing? It's a crime. You're committing a crime. It's a crime against humanity. And I've had it. It's a corrupt system. Have you done your research on Dr. Fauci? He's not even a doctor. He's Satan. Do you know what Bill Gates is all about? They're all about depopulation. This is depopulation. I've had it. Don't do this to our kids. These are our children. You sit there all smug.
Hi, my name is Danielle Letelier. I'd rather not give my address for personal reasons. I have 4 children that have been in Bedford schools. 2 have graduated, 2 daughters still go there. I've always been very proud to be part of this district. I've felt that we've had a great district. I'm starting to question that. Who would have thought that 2 years going into this pandemic, we'd still be arguing over masks? Not me. If they were effective, the virus would be gone. Follow the science, they say. Well, that depends on whose science you're going to listen to. The science that I listen to, the experts in these masks, the people that train OSHA, the people that train workforces, tell me it is not safe to wear these masks all day long. And we are putting our children in them. What's right for your family may not be right for mine. And if you choose to wear that mask, that's your choice. I have the choice not to mask my children. And I believe with 100% positivity that they are doing more harm for everybody, not just the children, but everybody. Why should my children be endangered to get a public education? Why do I have to force them to wear a mask breathe in this bacteria day in and day out so that somebody else's parents feel like their kid's safe because everybody's wearing a mask. My child should not be endangered. You want to talk about data? Like Jeff, I'm a data person too, a numbers person. I created these charts. I too went day by day, right from the Bedford Public Schools COVID dashboard, and recorded how many cases or how many kids were quarantined. On September 23rd, Bedford High School had 164 students quarantined. As of October 27th, there were 12, with no mask mandate. Somehow we went from 164 students quarantined to 12 with no mask mandate. Now, you've got 2 schools in this district who have had a spike, Douglas Road Elementary and Monroe Road Elementary. Jackman has 0 people, 0 students quarantined. And you're going to force everybody in all of these schools to wear masks? I don't think that anybody in any of the schools should be wearing masks. But for people who are, there's nobody quarantined. It's unbelievable to me. The chances of a child dying from COVID is extremely rare. More children die annually from the flu, but we don't mask our children during flu season.
Don't give them an idea.
If there's one thing that we all can agree on, and that we've learned from COVID, is that one size does not fit all. So what may be right for you is not right for me. There have been some people who have been extremely sick. Lots of people have had mild cold-like symptoms, like my family, or no symptoms at all. It's not the same for everybody, and everybody should not be masked. That should be a choice. If you want to mask your family, you mask them.
Thanks, Danielle.
That guy had his mask down, don't give him one.
Danielle can finish handing those out.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure. Is there one for everyone?
Yeah, there's
Yeah.
20 here.
Okay.
If anybody else wants some, they'll be over there.
Okay, go ahead. We're gonna proceed with public commentary.
Hi, I'm Craig Montry, and wow, we really have some impressive, intelligent parents in this district. It's awesome stuff, guys. But I'm going to come at this from a little different angle because I actually didn't come here tonight to persuade you to stop dehumanizing children with your dictatorial mask edicts. But if I was, I would simply appeal to the motive of your own self-preservation. When Mr. Kirsch and I were in school, there were roughly 500 kids per grade in Bedford Public Schools, and that's being very conservative. Since then, you've had to close multiple elementary schools, and I think maybe it was 5 years ago that the number was down to maybe 400 per grade, and that's being generous. And I don't know how dismal your numbers are this year. Now, the comforting lie that you'd like to tell yourselves is that just means less families live here now, or something along those lines, and there may be some truth to that. But the fact of the matter is that there are tons of families who still live in this township that have taken their kids out of Bedford and are sending them to Ida, to Whiteford, to Bedford Academy, to Middle College, to State Line Christian, to Emmanuel, to SMCC, to Catholic Central, to St. Ursula, St. John, St. Francis, Toledo Christian, not to mention the droves of families that are now homeschooling. These people here today are threatening to leave. Tons already have. They didn't wait around for you to pull this crap because they knew it was coming. So back to preserving your own self-interest. Take Florida, for example. In Florida, business is a booming. And the reason for that is the same reason that America used to be great, because freedom of the individual always wins. If every other public school in Michigan holds to this nonsensical mask nonsense, and Bedford didn't, you don't think people would move here in droves? People have been doing it for forever. People flee oppression and move to freedom. That's why Florida is booming and why the United States was the envy of the world for a long, long time. Remember that little girl that was here standing on the chair however many weeks ago? She should be free to wear a mask if she wants. And there isn't a single person in this room who would want to deny her that freedom. The attack on freedom is only in the other direction. But I'm not here to persuade you to stop frustrating parents and dehumanizing children. In fact, I say keep it up. We all know the vax mandates come for the children next. Anyone who has the slightest understanding of Soviet Russia over the last 100 years or so knows what's next. So keep it up. Because I believe one of the best things that could happen to help restore America is if everybody got their kids out of government schools, and you guys are doing a fantastic job furthering that cause. What I am here to do is to encourage parents here and those listening online and give them this message. They're mocking you. They're pretending to be sincere, but the fact is, they just don't think you'll do it. They saw you here before the school year started, and then they still made this call this week. Do it. Pull your kids, get good candidates to run for school board next election, and stop giving votes to rhinos and Democrats. Let's go, Brandon.
Is there additional public commentary? Oh, thanks.
My name is Trisha Ferris Buxton. I'll leave my address off. Thank you for the opportunity to convey a few thoughts regarding masking of our children in school. We moved from Canton, Michigan, a large community with a wonderful school district. We chose specifically to move to Lambertville, where the schools did not only have a good reputation, but only neighborhoods where children could build and maintain friendships. My daughter, Aunt Mariah, loves school and even wishes to be a teacher someday. She not only enjoys and excels at academics, but also loves the opportunity to make lasting friendships and relationships. Our objection regarding masking in schools stems largely from the fact that she has a bilateral hearing loss and is hearing impaired. She does wear hearing aids and has a Section 504 plan to help accommodate her needs. In addition, Mariah relies heavily on lip reading in all exchanges with teachers and with peers, both in and out of the classroom. While some parents can attempt to get medical exemption for their child, I can't get a medical exemption for her whole class. She relies heavily on lip reading and with muffled voices through masks, not only from the teacher but her peers. It's detrimental. And masking muffles everyone's voice and makes it impossible to read lips, determine what is being said. Amplifying the sound of the sound system does help, but only when it's the teacher speaking. We've tried the transparent mask, but they continually fog, and again, it is only effective with the teacher. While many parents express concern regarding the efficacy of masks, which I do too, we're also extremely concerned that masking Aunt Mariah and her teacher and classmates will not allow her to maintain her growth academically. We're also concerned that masking will not only hinder her academic growth, but will restrict her social and emotional growth by hindering interactions with other adults in the school, and most especially with her peers. We're asking you to please reconsider your position on masking. I've adapted several points from peer-reviewed articles which you may wish to read. They explain more eloquently than I am able to do. We're currently exploring what the ADA may have to convey in terms of masking in regards to students with disabilities, especially those with hearing impairments. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name is Josh Wolfenbarger, and I'm a former resident of Bedford. We moved up to Ida to get our kids up there, maybe 2006. It's proved to be an excellent move in light of everything that's gone on for the last 2 years. Very early on in the school year, we ran without masks. Monroe did not out of the gate, and our numbers ran very similar through the end of September as far as case counts and quarantines. So you've got a really good in-county
sort of experiment with Monroe that the masking does not work. And I think all of you guys owe this room and the community at large an explanation of the funding from count day to the 1021 or 1022 questionable social emotional survey that you guys posted for the freshmen and sophomores. And the teachers were only allowed to put it up for 30 minutes, then the link had to go away. And to the 1024 to 1025 mask mandate. I'm not sure what's going on up there, but we need to follow the money, and you guys owe this room the explanation.
Thank you. Is there additional public commentary?
My name is Krista Keith. I'm not going to disclose my address. I'm a student at Bedford Senior High School. I'm a senior. Personally, I have no problem wearing a mask, and I don't have any breathing problems. Not saying that people don't, but that's just how I view it. That's all I have to say, really. I don't really have a problem with it, and I know a lot of my friends don't either. That's it.
Thank you. Is there additional public?
Hi, my name's Desiree Miller, and I do not want to disclose my address. So my daughter texted me from school the other day. She had an incident where she does wear a mask at school, but her mask broke during second hour. So she went down to the office to get a new mask. The secretary had basically humiliated her for her mask breaking, and that day the kids whose mask broke, the girls got Pink Children's My Little Princess, and the boys got Paw Patrol masks that day. This is a 13-year-old who's bigger than I am, so the mask did not fit her face correctly. The kids that I see walking in and out of the junior high are not even wearing masks correctly. If they were to work, they wouldn't work because most of them wear them like Thomas did under his nose all day long. So another thing is I'm a nurse. I'm around COVID all the time. The masks do not work. If masks work, why would nurses still get COVID with their mask on all day at work? Because they don't work. What you guys are doing is wrong, and the masks need to stop. That's all I have to say.
Thank you.
My name's Kelly Sampson. I'm not going to give you my address. I have two children who go to Bedford. I have a freshman and I have a senior. My senior school experience has sucked. She started out in sports, then COVID hit. She took a break because she wasn't going to play softball with a mask on her face. My daughter's played softball since she was 6 years old. She had dreams of going to college to play softball. My daughter has no dreams now. Everything she's ever been told or taught or knew of life after high school has been, it's gone, it's disappeared. She's actually starting to see a counselor now. We have to see a psychologist. We're gonna miss school for that. School doesn't really mind when you miss school for COVID, but if you miss for a dentist appointment, they're calling you every 5 minutes wanting to know why your kid's absent. It doesn't make sense to me. What else doesn't make sense to me is I have a freshman and I have a senior. My senior was in a class with someone who tested positive for COVID. She got sent home and quarantined. She doesn't even face-to-face with this kid. He sits over here. She got quarantined. Okay, my son is a freshman, lives in the same house, their bedroom's on the same floor, they share the same bathroom, they carpool to school every day together. He wasn't quarantined. I'm confused. But then nothing makes sense. And when you ask questions, nobody has any answers. It's like you all have your own opinions, and whoever's opinion matters that day is what you guys go with. It doesn't matter if they have a mask on, or it doesn't matter if they don't have a mask on. My son, he plays football. He got quarantined. It doesn't make sense to me. I work for law enforcement. Part of my job is I call the coroner's office every time someone in the city of Toledo passes away. My questions to those people are, was it a trauma or is it COVID related? Can you guess how many times they tell me it's COVID related out of 50 phone calls? We keep track. 2. I'm not saying COVID's not a real thing. It is. People do die from it, and I've lost friends and family as well, but they've all had underlying conditions that made that COVID take their lives. It wasn't just COVID. Kids are dying in car accidents more than they're dying of COVID. It doesn't matter if they're going to have a mask on or not. Kids wearing these masks at school, it's pointless. It's causing more problems, more headaches, and more trouble than it's worth. There's no set stone rules. There's no, it just, none of it makes sense. And if you guys want to take over being parents to my kids and telling me what they can be seen for and what they can't, my son now has a torn ACL because he was quarantined and he's on the football team. He missed a week of practice because he couldn't practice because some kid got sick next to him. My kid wasn't sick, and then he goes and plays a football game on Saturday and tears his ACL. So now I have to have surgery for my son, go to physical therapy, take more time off of work because my son got sent home and couldn't condition and practice with his football team like everybody else can. And I know my kids aren't the only ones that have this going on. I just want you to take in consideration the seniors this year. Their high school was supposed to be the best 4 years of their life. It's the worst. And now they have to go out into the real world not knowing a damn thing.
Thank you.
Hi there, good evening. Randy Elcock, 1135 Smith Road. I just want to thank the young lady from the high school that jumped up here tonight and took the courage to stand up and say that she wears the mask, because it's her right, and I've heard other people say you don't have to wear a mask because it's also your right. But shame on the guy over my right shoulder somewhere that asked that courageous young lady who her dad was. Shame on you. I don't know who you were, but that was wrong. And you can ask me who my dad is straight to my face.
I'm gonna ask people to maintain some decorum here. We're not calling community members to task. I appreciate your comment, but please remember that for future comments as well. Is there additional public commentary for agenda items?
Was he inciting violence?
I'm sorry?
I just heard him say somebody should sit in his face and inciting violence.
And I've called for quorum or decorum to be maintained in the room. Sorry, I'll speak into the mic a little closer. I've called for decorum in the room, and the bylaws do call that I can warn a person before I'm asked for them to be removed. And that's what I've done. Is there additional public commentary? Seeing none, we are going to move on.
Lisa, you disconnected all the microphones.
Sorry, mine's working, so it does. Y'all can come over here.
It's just like playing.
Oh. Okay, we're going to move on to the superintendent's report and the COVID update.
Thank you, Madam President. As you know, since the last time we've met, there was a change in the protocol requiring masks in classrooms. Based on the last 2 weeks where the number of staff members have increased that we were quarantining or had positive tests, there is a significant reduction of staff available for our classrooms that we have to have staffed to maintain a safe and healthy classroom. as well as bus driving. We've had cancellations as well. It's not just related to COVID, but there is a number of bus drivers who've also been positive or have also been quarantined, both for in school as well as for being exposed outside of the district. Using I have a little more detail than we normally provide for the COVID because of the change in policy. So using the current data dashboard, the district currently has 208 positive confirmed cases for students this year and 37 for confirmed positives for staff members. We have currently 174 individuals in quarantine and 687 for the year. And we have 9 staff members in quarantine and 38. Of course, these numbers change daily as individuals come back or they are falling off of the quarantine list. The current county percentage of positivity rate, which is used by the CDC, we have also used this as a guideline for quite some time, is at 14.3%. You can see from the last few weeks that we checked this weekly, it has gone down now from the 16.3% that it was, so that is a wonderful sign. New cases per 100,000 is 329.6, also a decrease over the last week. We continue to be at the CDC transmission level of high here in the county, which is over 100 individuals per 100,000 of residents here in the township, or I'm sorry, here in the county. Weekly increase of confirmed cases for Bedford Township, both in by all age groups. If you look into the middle on the left side, you can see that we dropped a little bit this week. Last week was up, not quite as high as it was 4 weeks ago, but it is a slight drop this week. The weekly increase of confirmed cases for Monroe County, second to the bottom on the left. You can see now there was a slight drop 3 weeks ago to 2 weeks ago, and then a larger drop this week. So these are all good signs. Current vaccination status by Monroe County. Currently, all dose is all ages completed is 46.5. First dose is 50.4. So what does all this mean? It means we're heading in the right direction. Look, no one said this was no one said this was due to the masks, but we are heading in the right direction.
Okay, you guys, can we just have some decorum and have respect? The board was quiet and listened to everyone's commentary. I just asked that we listen to the report that the superintendent has.
This next graph shows last year at this time compared to in a snapshot of time, beginning of the year to now in the black, and then in the red it's 2021-22 school year. On the top left we have student positive cases, the cumulative amount. You can see the difference between 2020-21 compared to 2021-22. This information is available still on our running dashboard that we keep daily. Student quarantines on the right side, on the top right. Again, the black data is 2020-21. The red data is in 2020-21 or 21-22. Quite a large discrepancy up to this point in week 8. We started off pretty slow last year in terms of number of cases. We were doing very well until we hit a national spike, which really took and in fact led to a statewide closure in mid-November. On the bottom, we have the same data for the staff positive cases. You can see 2020-21 versus 2021-22. And then the staff quarantine cumulative, again, on the right side. This is about the time last year when the quarantines really ramped up for staff members. And again, individuals can be quarantined both for having individuals at home or being in an exposure outside of the district, either by the health department or by the health department if there's a case at home that somebody related to is positive. So you can see the numbers started to increase there. The next slide is staff quarantines by location. This is broken down by school building. So if you look at the top middle, again, 2021 versus compared to 21-22, you can see that there are significantly more staff quarantines at the Douglas Road, which is in the top middle this year compared to last year. Smith Road Elementary, last year we closed down 2 classrooms early. We have not had to do that this year. Middle left, Bedford High School, as I think it was mentioned earlier. Last year, we were running pretty consistent, weeks 3 through 7, and then week 8 went up. This year, we were somewhat consistent in weeks 2 through 5, and then we've had quite a spike in weeks 6 through 8. Jackman Road Elementary did not have any quarantines last year for staff through weeks 1 through 2. 1 through 6, and then we did have some this year, however, through weeks 3 through 8. Not as high as the other buildings. Jackman Road has been doing better with their cases and their quarantines. Other represents on the far right in the middle, represents individual staff members that are not assigned to an individual building. So that could be transportation, it could be administration, if they're central administration, anyone that's not assigned to a specific building. Bedford Junior High School, you can see at the start of last year, weeks 1 through 4, there were no quarantines. And then this year, week 2, we started small with 1. And then the last 2 weeks, 7 and 8, had quite a few. And then Monroe Road Elementary, somewhat consistent for the first 4 weeks. Last year, week 5 was rough on Monroe Road Elementary. And this year, just as it was last year, weeks 7 and 8 really spiked with 10 individuals. So that's consistent with last year. So what does this mean? Whenever there's a quarantine in a classroom and an individual staff member is forced to stay home, it creates a gap in the ability to maintain that classroom. Number one, they're losing high quality content, but it also is compounded by the fact that it's impossible right now to find substitute teachers. Districts across the area, region, state, I'm assuming also as well in Ohio, have increased daily sub rates. We've put blasts out trying to get individuals to sign up. It is very difficult, as it is in most industries right now, to find qualified staff. This next slide is 2021 only, and this is the daily number of staff in quarantine each day by location. I know it's a little hard for looking at the big screen to tell, but you can see the patterns. The gaps are the weekends, or there was a 1 or 2 day gap in the data. But you can see the spikes in the last 2 weeks, especially last week, which really put us over the top as a district. We had so many quarantines that we could not staff our classrooms. We've had administration in classrooms. We've had to cancel specials at elementary, which are extremely important, as you know, moving students around. Those are the hands-on activities that our students really enjoy. And we've had to pull those individual teachers, which we hate doing, to cover general classrooms, 3rd grade, 5th grade, whatever grade it might be. It's extremely difficult at elementary, unlike the junior high and high school, because at the junior high and high school, you always have a set number of individual teachers on their prep hour. And that is the time that they use to get ready for the next class, do the copies that they need, create their presentations, do all the work and preparing for the students. So they can still cover classes and not interfere, however, with their day. At the elementary, if we have to do something similar to that, we have to cancel a special, move that special teacher into a classroom, and then the students do not get specials that day, and the teachers also don't get prep. I know how important it is for students to be able to get up, move around, and do those activities. They love specials classes, and we want them to have it, but it's very difficult when we have this high number in especially the last 2 weeks and the end of the 3rd week, 3 weeks ago, that high number of quarantines, especially at the elementary level. The 2021 daily number of new staff positive cases by location, very similar design in the chart, color coded. You can see that by day, that is, we definitely have had spikes over the last 2 weeks. This has made it extremely difficult. I agree. We've had bad weeks before. We have had challenging weeks where we've had 15 cases, I think on a couple of occasions, 13, 11, multiple times, especially Mondays are difficult. Wednesdays are also usually tough. But when you have this number of positive cases, along with those in quarantine, it just furthermore makes it difficult to staff classes. and especially at the elementary. So it just also supports that last slide. I'm going to switch gears a little bit now and show some data from local school districts, both that have had, that are in counties that have masking mandates, and also Monroe County that does not. There are a few districts in Monroe, or one district in Monroe County, I could not get access to their data when I was putting this together and updating it. But you can see the top portion, mostly either Washtenaw or Wayne County, which our county would coincide with. And then on the bottom, mostly Monroe County. And we do have Monroe Public in the middle that has a number, that has had a mandate since the beginning of the year. So lower cases in the classroom districts, or in the district's classrooms that have had mandates. And I'm not going to sit here and tell you I know that it's all because they're wearing masks. But I do know that in talking to some staff members and some students, one thing that has been brought up to me is that wearing the mask for many individuals, both staff and students, has been a reminder that we're still fighting through this and we're still working through it. And they think that some students have definitely taken notice and have been a little more careful in some of their interactions, whether on the playground or in classrooms. I'm not showing this to say I want to be another district. I'm just showing this to say this is one of the things that we looked at as we were, as I was sitting there this weekend and getting call after call that we had another staff member test positive, we had another staff member test positive. And where we're at, as we were on Saturday, when I started to draft that letter, I was looking at 2 classrooms having to be converted because we had an instructor or a staff member in that classroom, as well as at least 4 or 5 students in each class that were that were already tested positive, plus many more quarantines. So I knew that we had to close down 2 classrooms and convert to remote learning. On Sunday morning, I found out there was a third, or potentially a third, and I was waiting for a result. Unfortunately, after I wrote the letter, we did have that third, which was at DRE on that day. So it was a long weekend. I know it was a hard weekend for many of you, obviously. I've listened to every word you said this evening, and all the emails that I've received, hundreds of emails, many meetings in person, conversations on the phone. I've tried to get back with everybody who's contacted me. I'm systematically working through the list, and there are a lot of them, as you know. I see many of your faces and recognize your names here this evening. This was not done because we wanted to. This was done in an effort to keep our classrooms open. There are limits, unlike last year where we had free reign to do remote learning whenever we wanted. We don't have those options this year. If we close down, our remote learning can't look like it did last year. There are many more stipulations to it, and I don't know if those days are going to count. We've been told that without the waiver, this district does not have a full K-12 virtual academy for all of our students. I've been here 4 years now, and I've applied 3 separate times to the state of Michigan. Each time they've denied us. And in order to get a new code for a building to have a program such as this, you have to apply for the state, who then has to apply for the federal program code, because the federal government is the only program, and the state federal Department of Education is the only program that can give a new building code to a local state. And I was told each time that they're not issuing new codes at this time, that we'd have to work within what we already have. Well, we don't have an elementary program. We've tried to craft them. We are still currently working on crafting them. We've contacted, since this weekend, we've contacted several learning partners and asked that we've worked with either through the beginning of the pandemic, or I've worked with in the past, or others have worked with in the past, and to see how fast we can get up and running if necessary for the parents that are asking. I've contacted those that have reached back out to me saying this is something they want. I've contacted them and double checked so that I can get this ball rolling. This next slide is year-to-date positivity by district. So it's the same graph the table we just had, but shows the difference between the mandates in place and the optional. Again, I'm not going to break down the science. I do know that there is a federal, a state, and a local high recommendation to wear masks. We did not want to go that way at the beginning of the year. I don't want to go that way tonight. The unfortunate reality is that as superintendent of schools and the designee by the Board of Education, I had to make a choice over the weekend. Do we close down the district, close down individual buildings with the number of cases we had, or try something different? whether it be for a day, a week, a month, whatever it took to keep our kids in the classrooms. And I made that choice. It might not be the right for your family, but I made the choice for all the students in this district to be able to stay in person. And we're reviewing it every single day. Every day I look through this data. Every day I update these slides. Every day when I'm talking to you and I see the pain and the fear of what's next in your voices or in your eyes when I talk to you. This is not a choice we wanted to make. This is the choice I needed to make as a superintendent of schools in charge of keeping our kids in class. I hope it doesn't last very long. I do. I've seen what is going on in our state to the south. I see what's going on in other districts and other communities that have had spikes reduced quicker. For whatever reason, Monroe County is not doing well this year. We have been high almost since the beginning of the year. Just now, we're starting to see the decrease, which I'm going to show you here in a second. Based on the New York Times, this is the data that we look for based on the reported cases across the United States. You can see the trend on the right. It's up. This is active up until October 26th. You can see the very nice 7-day trend line, which is the dark line, which is what we look at most. Because you're going to have a daily spike. You could have 10 cases tomorrow, 5 cases the next day, but you look at the 7-day average trend. You can see the United States is going down in quite a quick pattern. It's not quite as fast of a drop as we had the last time we had a big spike, but it's still moving in a great direction. And this is about a 2.5 to 3 week drop or decline in the number of cases. The same graph for the state of Ohio. You can see they peaked just a little before the state of Michigan. Michigan historically has had, we've reached the peaks later than others. It starts usually in the south or the west, and it moves up and moves east. While the United States has started to drop, the state of Ohio now is dropping nicely, and they're starting to see a nice drop, which is why I believe you've seen a number of our local districts, and I'm very happy for them, that have dropped their mandate and have gone back to choice. I also looked at the county nearest to us in the state of Ohio. Not quite the significant drop. You see a little bit of the ups and downs over the last 3 weeks, but still, nonetheless, a nice drop and dip in cases. They're moving down, and the 7-day trend line is moving down as well. I have the state of Michigan as a whole. You can see we started our peak just a little bit later, about a week or so later than the state of Ohio. And we're starting now to have a drop. I think the last dip over the last 2 days has given us a little spike, but I hope that's one of those blip lines like we just saw in the state of Ohio. If you look back, they had a couple ups and downs, but overall the trajectory is coming down on a week-to-week basis. So this is exactly what we're hoping for. This is what we need to happen. And finally, I have Monroe counties. Monroe County did not start our drop quite as early as the state of Michigan. We were a little behind, but you see the lines there starting. I don't have the date. I don't have all the dates on there because it made it very small, but it's about a 7-day drop. And if you look at that almost straight vertical line down, it looks like maybe we plateaued just a little bit, but I'm hoping that once again, that's just a small blip. This is important, and these are things that I'm looking at every single day. And I truly am hoping that we can go back to our choice as soon as we have gotten to the point where we don't have a situation where we can't fill our classrooms, where we're having 10, 15 cases a day, because that was the average over the last 2 weeks. Mondays and Tuesdays were extremely high. Wednesday has been high, and then we've started to have a little better week, and then it's gone high the next week. So when you have that, and you have a 10-day quarantine or a 7-day quarantine, whatever it is, 14-day quarantine for positive cases, or 10-day for positive cases, depending on where you're quarantined, who you're quarantined by, it's extremely important that we continue to see this drop so that we can very quickly converge back to the option that we had. Because we started this as a superintendent and as a leadership group. We started the option for choice. We'd like it to be an option for choice, but we'd like it to be a safe option where we can staff our classrooms and our students are not, not getting 15 cases a day. So this is just an overview of the COVID. I do not know how long this is going to last. Everybody asked me the same question. Are we talking a week, a day, a month? It will be as soon as we can see this sustained drop and that our classrooms are being able to be staffed and our buses are being able to be staffed and food service and students are not coming down in droves and packs of 3 or 4. What we didn't see when we had the high numbers earlier this year, we didn't see in-school transmission. What we had was, we had 1 case, just like last year, for the most part, we were at 0.198 last year, or 0.198 of cases that we had total last year resulted in a transmission in a classroom through close contact tracing. We were less than 5% for quite a while this year. It kind of started creeping up. Right now, we're over 15, between almost 17%. That means that not one case is not one case. One case immediately evolves into several cases. Even if they're on quarantine, it's 3 or 4 or 5 days later, which starts that quarantine over again for anybody who's in that position, or if they're at the home and they have a positive case at the home. So some quarantines have lasted. I think we've had quarantines that, because one person got it, and it was at a 7 or 8 day interval, one family could have had a quarantine, whether it's through the district for students or from the health department, for upwards of 25, 26 days. I don't want to see that. Our families deserve and need to be back where they're out and where they're able to do the fun things that our kids want to do and the things that I want to do as a family and as a parent myself. So I'm hoping this doesn't last very long. I would really like to be able to write a new letter to you. I agonized over that last letter. I agonized telling the board that this was a possibility on Saturday. That's my update for today.
Okay, thank you, Carl. Thank you, Carl. We will move on to the Board of Education November 4th discussion.
Yes, Madam President. Previously, leading up to this, each year the state of Michigan requires that public schools have a financial audit by a separate auditor. And this year, and we usually do it at the same time every year they start, because of COVID funds and a few other reasons, our auditor was not able to get it done quite as early this year. They still will have it done by the due date, which is, I believe, the 15th of November. Julie, is that correct?
The 1st of November.
1st November. So they are working diligently to get the audit finished. However, the board has an obligation to see the presentation and hear the presentation from our auditor, and you have to have a special meeting for that. We were going to hold that this evening, which is the time frame we normally do as a Board of Education, the last meeting of October. However, they couldn't get it done, so instead of adding the special meeting to this evening's agenda, because they couldn't do it, we have to add it to an upcoming agenda. They also will not be, they were not able to make the November 4th meeting. And because of the holiday, so this is kind of the perfect storm, the holiday pushes our committee of the whole meeting from the last Thursday of the month to the 3rd Thursday of the month in November. So because we will have to convert that committee of the whole into a board meeting, there's been discussion around other superintendents, and that for the same reason that we look at turning our committee of the whole that is scheduled for the 18th into a regular board meeting for actionable items, and in between that, not having a meeting every other, having a 1 week gap between a meeting, because we won't have anything other than audit to present on that, and they're not going to be ready on the 4th. So I just want to propose that we consider that. I know that we have to post it and change the posting online because of the schedule, but it would be due to the audit presentation, which would turn it into an actual meeting on the 18th of November, which is again due to the Thanksgiving holiday pushing the Thursday up. It doesn't require a vote. I just wanted to bring it up and have a discussion about if anyone has any comments on it or.
Any comments or concerns? Okay.
Okay. And then we would, of course, resume our normal meeting schedule in the 1st of December with our meeting. So the meetings then will be 3 weeks apart.
I'm sorry, I didn't know what time the meeting was supposed to be. I'm trying to put down the.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Six.
No, go ahead.
Yeah, they're always 6:30.
Okay.
Yep.
6:30.
You didn't realize the time.
So 6:30, November 18th.
We sometimes do a 6 o'clock special meeting for the auditors, but Julie, do you think that they would mind if we did a 6:30 to keep it consistent? We're already making a date
I
change.
already confirmed with them that 6:30 on the 18th.
Okay.
is great.
So, that's okay. So 6:30 on the 18th, and this will be posted as well. And the meeting the week before on November 4th will be canceled, sorry, 2 weeks before will be canceled. So it'll be on the November 18th. We will have a regular, special meeting for the audit. We'll have our regular committee of the whole meeting as well.
On Monday, right? Not the Thursday following?
No, yeah, it's always Thursday. It's the
Yeah,
18th.
on Thursday, the 18th.
Yeah.
I think it's Thursday. Am I looking at the wrong?
Thursday, the 18th.
Oh, Thursday, the 18th, yeah.
Okay, we are going to go ahead and move on to the instructional items. It looks like we have 3.
Oh, true. Madam President, I have one more thing.
Oh, sorry, go ahead.
Sorry. My last item for the night is consideration to approve the purchase of ViewSonic panels. Each classroom across the district, we have been working to replace the old projectors with ViewSonic panels for each classroom. They are 65 inches. We need 28 more to complete our sequence, and these funds would come right from the technology millage. Each panel is $1,750. It will be a total of $49,000 from CDWG, which is one of our government vendors, which would be the best price that we can get. It's basically the REMC price.
Okay, any questions around the ViewSonic panels?
And this, once again, will complete all of our classrooms in the district.
Okay.
Most of them already have them installed. Our tech department has been doing a great job.
Okay, seeing none, sorry about that, Dr. Schultz. Okay, we will move on to instructional items, and it looks like we have 3. Dr. French?
Thank you. I don't think my mic is turning on. I'm just going to talk loud as loud as I can. We have our traditional resolutions on the agenda tonight for American Education Week, which is November 15th through 19th. All of these are that week, actually. American Education Week, International Education Week, and the Homeless Awareness Week. So we do recognize all of these. Generally, we and our Bedford Education Association are especially recognizing our teachers during American Education Week. And I always publish materials and links to everyone to heighten their awareness for Homeless Awareness Week with that resolution. So those are our traditional resolutions around this time of year.
Okay, thank you. Any feedback, questions, comments about those resolutions? Okay, I would just ask that when we do meet the next time, one of the things that I know we have presented before around the Homeless Awareness Week is data specific to Monroe County and our Bedford, because again, I think it is always a good opportunity to bring awareness to the fact that we are not without homeless students within our district.
Yes,
Thank you, appreciate it. Okay, moving on to operational items. Julie?
Thank you. I will just have one item for the board's consideration, and that is to accept a donation from SOS, which stands for Students for Other Students. We didn't get this donation last year, but we've got it for several years prior to that each year. And what that is, it's a $5,000 donation for the year that pays for the cost of hiring high school students to tutor the last hour of school over at Jackman Road Elementary, to tutor students in reading. And so my consideration will be to accept that donation again for this year.
Okay, any questions or comments? Thanks, Julie, on that donation.
Can I ask a question?
Yep.
So what would the funds be used for in that situation? Do they actually pay the high school students?
Yes, we pay them minimum wage, so it'll pay their wage plus the district's FICA and retirement costs to go along with that. So we do a calculation to determine how many hours this grant will cover, and then Julie Eaton handles the logistics of those hours.
Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? Okay, seeing none, we'll move on to reviewing the agenda for the Board of Education meeting. That will be on Thursday, November 18th at 6:30. Our usual items are our proclamation, our resolutions that Dr. French just reviewed, correspondence, our committee meetings. We will have the presentation of the financial audit. Oh, sorry. We'll have the consideration to accept the audit. We will also be voting on the purchase of the ViewSonic panels. And then voting to accept the SOS Students for Other Students SOS donation. Beyond that, all of the other normal commentary and announcements and comments from the board. Any questions about the agenda? Dr. Schultz, I have just one. I didn't see any student recognition. Will we have any? I know we had a couple of things that were potential based on progress of different students or groups. So will we have anything?
We did actually, Amy had a presentation. Excuse me. Amy did have a presentation yesterday for Bandorama for our incredible band that did have all ones across the board once again for festival. This is an honor that very few districts can recognize, and I'd like to thank Amy. My daughter had an event last night, but Bandorama, if you've never been to it, is an incredible event. I know most of you have at least gone. So we will probably have something a little more elaboration on that, as well as I have to talk to Sandy about what else we might have. So we may have a few. We've not had many this year, but now that we're moving.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. All right, moving on to the standing information items, the check register and the financial update. Any comments or feedback on either of those? Okay, seeing none, we have reached our second public commentary. And I think for the, I've said this before, but for the benefit of those who haven't joined us in a meeting before, the board, we run parliamentary procedure as a part of this meeting. And the board does not address the public. So we're not sitting up here ignoring your comments. We are very much appreciative of everyone coming and their comments and the decorum that we have maintained. We just do not, part of our procedure is we just don't respond in this type of format. We do respond and talk through these comments, and there is availability, obviously, of email response and then personal phone calls or meetings as they are requested. So I just wanted to give everyone that update so that you weren't wondering why we aren't talking to you, because I was in your seat before wondering why people weren't talking to me too. So.
Can I say one thing really quick?
Sure.
I just wanted also people to know that it's not my phone ringing up here. That's the timer. So I didn't want anybody to think I was being disrespectful and have my phone on.
Yeah, I probably should have mentioned she's timing. So it seems like everyone has saw that. So appreciate it. Okay, go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for allowing us to speak tonight. Spoken with Dr. Schultz and many other you have read my emails, and I understand we can talk about this until we're blue in the face, but I will be that little sharp pebble in your shoe, and I have to be. I have 3 kids. They cannot be here to voice their concerns and the way that they feel. So I'm it, and their dad is it. We get to be here to tell you how they feel. And I just have to reiterate, at what point do we say enough is enough? Is it the 10th time that we need masks to reinstate it? Is it the 20th time? Is it after you make more stringent requirements for what our children need to do to attend school? You said that we needed to do something different, but yet we went back to old rules that didn't give us anything any better last year. They didn't. It didn't end COVID. It still existed. So how is that any different? That is the definition of insanity, is doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result. And at this, simultaneously thinking of my own kids, it's teaching them this horrible thing, which you teach in your own schools, about consent. Consent about what they should be doing with their bodies, consent of what they should be putting on their bodies, and you're taking away that autonomy that we're trying to teach them with stranger danger and all of those things involved. So now you're saying, well, I'm an authority figure, you put that mask on your face. It is such a weird fine line of having to tell my kids, remember, this is your body. Listen to your body, right? We have to teach them that. Right now, authority figures are telling them that they have to put this on their face. And it is not okay. It is setting a nasty, ugly precedent, and we will be dealing with this for years to come. Now, we tell them this under the guise of health and safety and to keep others safe, but last I checked, I'm responsible, just like I teach my kids, you are responsible for your own actions. I have never expected anybody to take responsibility for my own health, ever. I will never hold any of you accountable for my health. My decisions are my decisions, just like my children. You have the choice. You can go to school and wear a mask. I will give you that choice. They are my decisions. I will never put anybody else, I will never have them take responsibility of my health choices, and my bad health choices for that matter. And unfortunately, it's a global thing, and we all have to kind of shift our thinking that we all do have our own choices, and we take risks daily, and we have to calculate those risks. The most frightening part as a parent is to realize that through an earlier quarantine with my own child who was healthy the whole entire time, is that there are no reasonable options here in Bedford during those quarantines. You are violating Michigan state law. There is no education. There is follow along in Schoology, figure it out. And it is wrong. And I have to commend Dr. French for meeting with me and trying to come up with some solutions. It is definitely a problem that should be on the top of your list. There is being offered nothing, not a reasonable accommodation for us parents who do not want to mask our children, and that is violating Michigan state law. Please, we cannot keep at this. Let's just try something different in hopes of something new is going to happen. We have the highest amount of teachers vaccinated, to my knowledge. I think somebody mentioned one of these meetings, 85%. Explain to me that. Please, end this. It is hurting our kids worse than a virus ever will.
Thank you.
Just the tip of the iceberg. It's not.
I'm Danielle Kuzno. First of all, I'd like to say there's no state mandated quarantine or masking mandate or law. There's not a Monroe County Health Department mandate for quarantine or masking. So if you stop your self-imposed quarantining of healthy students and healthy staff, you wouldn't have shortages. You can end it right there. The other question I've asked is how many positive cases have you derived from the close contact quarantines with healthy children and healthy staff? No one has ever answered that. I've been coming to these meetings for months now. We call, we email, we leave voicemails. There's no response from the board at a board meeting or a committee of the whole. Sometimes there's a voicemail that says, yes, thank you, please direct your question elsewhere, and we'll get back to you, or an acknowledgement that I've sent an email, but no response. Hi, I've received your email. Thanks for playing. Several meetings ago, I spoke regarding the inappropriate books in our library. So now I'm asking, what is the criteria for the books that a teacher has in their classroom, as well as what is online and available to our students, as well as in the physical library? There are still books in our libraries. The book, What Mr. Mateo Did, 3 7th grade girls accused their music teacher of having touched them inappropriately and sexually was removed from the physical library. Thank you, Dr. French. The book, On the Bright Side, I'm Now the Girlfriend of a Sex God, Further Confessions of Georgia Nicholson, is absolutely in the high school and possibly in the junior high library. So, do you have criteria or can anybody bring anything in? That's what I thought, no response. I also find it extremely coincidental that 2 elementary classes are quarantined and the whole district is masked the same week the voting for the emergency use authorization for the Pfizer vaccine for 5 to 11 years old is voted on. Seriously. So the kids take the vaccine and then you'll let us come back to school and we get our summer vacation back instead of shutting down school and saying, sorry, you're not playing these 2 weeks, but you can come in July. So, and I'd also like to touch on the ticket health survey. Fortunately, my family chose to opt out of this, but not everybody realizes that these are opt-out surveys for your child, not opt-in, what it should be. And we had high school kids posting on their social media that these questions were disgusting and inappropriate. If a 15-year-old thinks a question is disgusting and inappropriate from their school, what are these? Do you know that the junior high is not giving this because we called for that survey and it was not given to one parent? Did any parent get the survey? Nope.
Nope. I requested it.
Child abuse.
Illegal. Yeah.
So, also, the district policy on COVID is still expired. The website was not updated this week. We have the Families First Coronavirus Response Act that expired December 31st. The Families First Coronavirus Response Act medical leave portion also expired. Governor Whitmer's executive order was rescinded. The second executive order that this is based on is also rescinded. So what are you operating on? You need to stop playing games. Seriously, you're affecting kids in ways you don't even know how. Go sit in some of these houses in the mornings when these kids are crying going to school and crying coming home. You have no idea what you're doing. You have no idea. I'm asking you to release this mask mandate. It's arbitrary. He just said the numbers were coming down. It makes no sense. The only thing that I can think of is that you're going to get money when these kids get vaccinated. That's the only thing that makes sense. You're holding summer vacation over everybody's head unless they get vaccinated. It has nothing to do with masks. Figure it out.
Thank you.
Josh Wolfenbarger back again. Update from IDA. We instituted COW meetings so that we could interact with the board. So one of you guys might want to check out the parliamentary rules to see what's being hid behind. You might look at the band and maybe study the band if there's an increase in cases tied back to band kids, because obviously in band you can't wear a mask. That might be an indication that you guys are going down the wrong path or the right path. And during the COVID update, I missed the part on the strings that were attached to the $2.5 million in federal funding that the district just took. So I don't know if we have time at the end, maybe you can hit it.
Thank you.
Sarah McKee, and I'm not going to disclose my address. Members of the board, I am very discouraged. I am angry as a parent because, man, we moved here and I thought, this is great school district. My kid's going to get the best education. We moved from Trenton, and let me tell you, they were top of my list before we moved. But when we moved, I'm like, okay, we're going to be good. And then this garbage. We never did this with the flu. I understand it's completely different. Not really, but I'm tired of this. I'm tired of the excuses. I want answers. Okay, of all these kids that you're putting in quarantine for a close contact, out of all those, how many students have become positive? I would like to know. I think all these parents want to know. I should tell you. What about these children who cannot wear masks, whether it's for medical reasons, whether it's for disabilities, for whatever reason, they're not making it up. Okay, and for the parents that are keeping their kids home, like me, myself, okay, so what is the line for that? Okay, like if I keep continuing to keep my kid home, which I will because I'm not going to send her in a mask because she can't, how long before I'm going to get truancy papers? Or is it that you're not really going to give us parents a choice because there's no virtual choice at all? Nothing. You're leaving these kids out to fail. They have no voice. And I am sick of it. Like, I am mad. This should not be happening. Our kids shouldn't have to suffer. Nobody should. And good for all you parents for being here. Because they need to see us. They need to see us strong. I've never, ever been involved with coming to board meetings, because guess what? I've never had a problem. But you darn well, I got a problem now. And I'm not going to mask up my kid. And you know, another thing. These teachers need to keep their views to themselves. Don't you dare go and tell my child that, oh, you had 3 family members die from COVID, so you will wear a mask in my class. That is unacceptable. That is not okay. These 6th graders, because that's what grade my child is in, that's not okay. They don't need to know your personal views or whatever. I'm sick of that too. These kids need to think for themselves, and they can't. What's going on right now, I'll tell you. It is comply and shut the hell up. That is what you're telling our students by masking up. You don't have a choice. Put it over your nose. I don't care if you can't breathe. That's too bad. In my class, you're going to do as I say or else. I don't frickin' think so. I am done. And if I have to pull my kid out, which that's going to break her heart, as if her heart's not broken enough, as if she hasn't been through enough. And now I may not have no other choice but to take her out. How many students do you want to lose? I mean, seriously, how many of you want to just pull your kids out and say enough is enough? Because although we're here for the mask mandate and we're sick and tired of putting our kids in masks, the next thing is going to be the stupid vaccine that does not do nothing. It's not a true vaccine. We all know that. I mean, look at the teachers. Oh, they all got their vaccine. Oh, but guess what? So many of them are out, huh? So us, masking up our kids is doing absolutely nothing. And in the meantime, their education is being put in the toilet. It's not fair to these students to suffer like that. I mean, when it was optional, the whole reason I allowed my kid to come this year is because masks were optional, because she can't wear a mask. And now this. And now this is what I'm left with. A girl who is brokenhearted, doesn't have a choice. And she's seeing her mom stand up. And you know what? She sees what I'm doing, and I hope she appreciates what I am doing for her. And not just my student, but for all of your students who are dealing with the same thing. And I encourage more parents to come out. If you're sick of these masks, I don't care how busy of a schedule you got, you make time for this, because we need to be their voice. The board and everybody needs to hear what is really going on. And all they care about is money. They don't care about your kids' health. If they would, this would not be going on right now. That is all.
Thank you.
My name's Amy. I will not say my address because I know a member of this board's spouse is writing names and addresses down. And I will not have my name and address out there.
It's okay.
And it's live on YouTube, so options. I did mask my daughter last year. I masked her. And she almost fainted going up the stairs. I do not even want to imagine what would have happened if she fell down those stairs. And I didn't realize it. I took her to the doctor. Because of her concussion and her brain trauma, plus her asthma, I just made it worse. I hurt my daughter by masking her and sending her to your school, which I chose because your education system is amazing and the teachers are great. I even talked to friends and family to transferring their children over to this school. I do love Bedford. I do not like this mask mandate, and it has caused me to hurt my own child. Trying to, appease the masses of please mask your child. People in this crowd, spouses of your board, comments on Facebook condemning us parents for not masking our children. How dare they? They have no idea what my child's medical history is, and it is none of their business. How dare you condemn someone not knowing what their medical history is? It is absolutely absurd. Now, also, with the help desk ticket is obviously opt-out. Why is it opt-out? It should be opt-in. I also requested the materials and still have not gotten it. I've sent 3 emails on it. I have a right to see what is offered to my child. As a parent, I have that right, and it has been refused through 3 emails, which I can carbon copy to all of you if you would like. I just went to the principal instead of going over their head. Now, mind you, currently the junior high principal is a stand-in, which I understand she's taking on a lot, but that's the job she's in there for. Sorry. It is unacceptable. Not only that, we don't have any idea what books are allowed to our children through the SORA. Who regulates that? Who clarifies and certifies that these books are acceptable? Anyone? Nobody? There's a committee, or the parents on the committee, or is it just, who is it? We don't know. Nobody knows. What is the screening process for books for our children? I mean, could I just take and donate whatever books I want? There's some Tuttle Twins books I would love to donate to the school. I don't think other parents would appreciate it, but it at least doesn't cover anything inappropriate. I don't have to worry about my daughter reading that, thank goodness. The mask mandate has to end. A lot of these doctors aren't writing exemptions. Fortunately, I was lucky enough to get an exemption. But had my daughter not almost fainted and told me, I would not have thought to go to a doctor's office. And what happens when she falls down those stairs? They're not carpeted. They're not padded. What are they? Cement? They're not wood. They're not even wood. Like falling out of a tree even. No, this is cement steps. That's all I got.
Thank you.
I'm Jamie Santiago. I'm a senior at Bedford High School. And I just wanted to put the opinion out there that I know me, my friends, and most of the senior class would rather be stuck with wearing the mask than getting sent home again and losing winter sports, spring sports, prom, winter formal, all those things. Because that happened last year, and we got to miss a lot of those opportunities. I just wanted to put that out there.
Thank you.
Jeremy Vance, back again. I think it's very important that you guys understand the laws regarding these mask mandates. Informed consent is required for investigational medical therapies. Regardless of lack of safety and efficacy behind the decision to require a child to wear a mask, it is illegal to mandate an EUA, emergency use authorization, approved investigational medical therapies without informed consent. Mask use for viral transmission prevention is authorized for emergency use only. Emergency use authorization by the FDA means the products are investigational and experimental. Only the statute granting the FDA the power to authorize a medical product of emergency use requires that the person being administered the unapproved product be advised of his or her rights to refuse administration of the product. This statute further recognizes the well-settled doctrine that medical experiments or clinical research may not be performed on human subjects without the express informed consent of the individual receiving treatment. The right to avoid the imposition of human experimentation is fundamental, rooted in the Nuremberg Code of 1947. If you don't know what that is, I suggest you look it up. It has been ratified by the 1964 Declaration of Helsinki and further codified in the United States Code of Federal Regulations. In addition to the United States regarding itself as bound by these provisions, these principles were adopted by the FDA and its regulations requiring the informed consent of human subjects for medical research. The law is very clear. It is unlawful to conduct medical research, even in the case of emergencies, unless steps taken secured informed consent of all participation. Furthermore, by requiring children to wear a mask, you are promoting the idea that the mask can prevent or treat disease, which is an illegal, deceptive practice. It is unlawful to advertise a product or service can prevent disease unless you possess competent and reliable scientific evidence sustaining that the claims are true. Have not been provided one time. The FDA EUA for surgical and/or cloth masks explicitly states, and I quote, "The labeling must not state or imply that the mask is intended for antimicrobial or antiviral protection or related, or for use such as an infection prevention or reduction," which states on my 5-year-old's package. It does not work. I'm going to hand this to you guys. You can pass it around. It's on the package. United, we stand.
My name is Shannon Stewart. I will withhold my address since the last time I spoke, I lost my mailbox the next day. I am a Bedford resident, went to Bedford, graduated from Bedford. I choose as a single mother to homeschool my senior. So for those parents who tell me that it's hard, you're right, it can be hard, but if 2020 taught you anything, the school system showed you you could homeschool your children. You could not only homeschool your children, but you have the freedom to choose the curriculum and the belief systems and the ideologies that are instilled in your children. It's time that we stop calling them public schools. They're not open to the public because they're not accountable to the public. We've heard no comment from them today. They do not return our emails, our phone calls, nor do they defend their positions because they're run by the government. They're regulated by the government. They are funded by the government. They are compelled by the government. They are not public schools. These are government institutions. These are government schools. And if your ideologies line up with our current government system that has given up our rights and our freedoms, then I suggest you keep your kids here because that's the generations that we are now creating because they will continue to repeat the ideologies that they've been brainwashed into them over the last decades.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Regina Gomez. I'm not going to give my address.
Can you speak a little louder?
Yes. Okay. You showed a chart that shows the spikes in the cases and then they go down. It happened multiple times on the charts. And then mentioned they're going to go down again. So now telling everybody to put on a mask right now, as it's going to soon go down again, is going to give the impression that it's the mask that did it. So it's part of this agenda to mask up for every little thing so they can control everything. And it's got to stop. We need freedom to make choices, to live our lives, not to be told what to do for every single thing. The Constitution needs to be upheld. And I understand that an outbreak of any illness is hard. Being the decision makers on how to handle an outbreak has a lot of pressure. As the leaders of our school district, you get to hear many complaints and what people want. You get to decide what you feel is best for the school. I'm asking that you respect parents' rights to choose what is best for their children. Allow them the freedom that this country was founded on. Religious freedom, medical freedom, freedom to breathe, the ability to say no to mandates that parents feel are harmful to their children. You gave the freedom to decline participating in wearing a mask that gave people a false sense of security against COVID-19. Please, I am asking you to allow us that freedom. This is America. Let us live free.
Hello, my name's Jim Cooper. I have been in this district for about 3 years. I have 2 daughters going to Bedford. I actually prepared this nice letter I worked on, but everybody pretty much has stated everything and actually gave me more information than I actually knew. So I'm going to kind of skip this and keep it very brief. If you're a true believer in the mask, you have that right to wear it. I have no problem with it. I don't think anybody here in the room has a problem with it. Like the seniors that had spoke, same thing. They feel comfortable doing that. The parents want them to do that. That is perfectly okay with me. I have no problem with that. But I do have a problem because a year ago, I was asked a question, did you mask your kids? I'm just as guilty, me and my wife, because we didn't know the results or the research that had came out on the harm that these actually physically do. So we don't want anybody to be sick. I don't want the staff. I don't want the kids. Everybody just wants to live their lives. But the biggest thing I have is it should be a choice. And there is no, as it was already spoken before, there is no mandate by any health regulations above the school board. And just give us that option. Don't segregate our children and make them suffer, because they're the ones really suffering here. And I do appreciate, me and my wife met with Mr. Schultz today, and we appreciated that meeting. But again, it should be a choice. And it is a hard position in there because I'm a business owner myself. And when this all broke out, I had no idea what to do. And everybody's asking for answers, and it was very difficult because no one really knew. It was new to the world. So I just asked, lift the mandate. You can strongly suggest, but I really feel you have no authority or justification to mandate it and to stop our education to our children, because at the end of it, they're the ones who are suffering. That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do have a question before I sign my name or my address to these sheets. Is this a requirement under state law, or is it a request for my information?
It's just a request.
I'm sorry?
It's a request.
Okay, I'll deny both then.
Okay.
I didn't write anything this evening, but as I sit here and watch, there are a couple of things that I feel are important for everyone to take into consideration. Number one, when we're going to be making medical decisions for children and not consulting the parents, the next best thing we should be consulting are medical professionals. Who's the medical professional when we talk about pandemics, epidemics, quarantines, vaccinations? Monroe County Health Department. FOIA results show us that no one on this board, no one in the administration, none of the faculty at any of the schools has been in contact with Monroe County Health Department in the last 2 weeks. How can that be before we make a decision like this? It breaks my heart that there is a student in this room that felt they needed to come up here and let you know they're okay wearing it because otherwise you'll take their privileges from them. It's their senior year, they want to enjoy it. Doing this unilaterally was wrong, with no input from parents, no input from the health department, not that they're giving the greatest input either. It was wrong, and I think it strongly needs to be reconsidered.
Thank you.
I don't even know where to begin. I couldn't bring myself up to write or even think. You guys are adults, very smart adults. And psychological, I'm very positive that you guys know what you're doing to the kids. And I see the faces, well, eyes. But I would like to see your faces. You got the freedom. And let me back up. I don't look like Bill and Joe. But that's how I go by. That's a joke. I've been to South America and Central America, to parts of the world that very corrupt. And I see that you guys are making decisions on our behalf without our authorization. My right as a parent, because I decide to become one, is to choose for my kids. I don't call any of you guys at night when my kids are sick, because you guys have no clue about health. You wouldn't advise or even do anything or prescribe anything because you have no idea what to give my child. But I do. I will go to my doctor. I will go to the proper resources. If you guys think that the mask is okay or covering, that's your freedom. I chose to come to Bedford thinking, well, yeah, it is a good public school. 1 year into, and decided to pull the kids out. Best thing to do is to homeschool. Because as smart as you guys are making decisions, the kids are not getting smarter. They get questions and answers to study, to go and prepare for a test. That way the school district looks in numbers very well. So what you guys are doing right now, you have no mandate, is dictating. It's a dictatorship. And there's no freedom. You're given a choice, one choice. Either mask up or you're not welcome to the school district. You're not welcome to the school grounds. Things that are worse are gonna be, because what it seems like it's becoming is more communism. And you guys don't know what that is. I wish you never go into that. You have no clue what communism is. Because if we were to tell you what to do and we have the authority, you would not like it. You would object. As you all well know, the mask doesn't work. It is a joke. So respect the parents that decides what to do with their kids. My kids have been denied education for this whole week. I've been sick, my whole family's been sick. Big deal. We're still alive. I would not blame anybody else if my kid's sick and die. I would not blame. I wouldn't like it. I would grieve. But that would be my decision, not you guys' decision. But you guys are denying my kids. They want to come to school. They want to come to learn. They said we cannot learn in computers, online. They don't do well in school like that. They want to be present. They were homeschooled last year. We decided to go because they wanted to come. Now we're going to pull them back out. That's the only solution. That's the only option that you guys are giving us. All the data, you guys don't want facts because there's no argument with facts. So I just ask to consider removing this decision about masks. I hope that you guys love this nation, to fight for the freedom, regardless of what it is, whether you like it or not, but freedom, make it to be your choice, our choice. Don't make it because I have the authority to do so, I'm going to do that, therefore sit down, shut up, and do what I tell you to do. My time is up, and I will probably keep you all night if I keep talking, because I have a whole lot more. I just didn't, I couldn't come up, I couldn't write it because I'm so upset. If I wish I could not speak and just scream because that's what I want to do. Common sense. I can never bring myself to speak to you guys that way because it seems like common sense is being taught not to have it. Thank you.
Thank you.
Laura Egner, I have something else to say. I was the first one to speak on purpose. I wanted to say the power of one leads to the power of many, which I said. And I truly believe that has totally happened here today. When I stated we have retained a lawyer, we have. So that was the honest truth, and we are fully ready to sue. So I also want to speak about my personal child. We masked last year. It was a shorter day. They gave them mask breaks. It was difficult. Virtual was difficult. She struggled. Her grades dropped dramatically. She needs in person. She does. She can't get it at Bedford. We're gonna have to go somewhere that does. I was fortunate. I had forethought that you guys were gonna pull this mask. Even though you said optional, I'm like, I don't know. They got it on the bus, so I've been driving her to and from school. But I had the forethought, you know, I better get a medical exemption for her, which I did. I got a letter. So this week, she's gone to school. The first day, when I picked her up, she had 20 check marks on her arm. She says, Mom, I counted how many times people asked me where my mask was. I said, who asked you? 2 teachers and 18 kids. I'm like, okay, well, what'd you say? I said, I have a doctor's note. They didn't bother her anymore after that, which was appropriate. The next day, I pick her up. I said, how many? You know, Mom, just 2 teachers today. Like, okay. So she's not been harassed. Too bad, really. I mean, that's pretty acceptable. I would have expected something like that. My daughter's fortunate. I had the forethought to get a doctor's note for her. So when Sunday night came, I could send my daughter, but the other people that couldn't get a doctor's note couldn't send their children, or they had to put a mask on their face, and the child had to struggle all day with their disabilities or their inabilities, whatever those are. We're all different. Nobody's the same. These masks are not legal. It is not legal what you are doing, and that is why you are going to be sued. You need to drop this mandate now. Thank you.
Thank you.
I do not have a speech prepared because every time I sat down to write it, I, like so many of you guys, just very upset and my head has just been spinning all week. So this is going to be short and sweet. I just want to say that this is more about the masks. We all know that. This is about parents feeling a panic that we are losing our freedom, and we have to stand up for our kids. That's why we're here. We're hundreds strong. This is just a glimpse into how this movement is growing. And we want to be heard because our kids can't speak for themselves. And I just want to say I'm privileged. I feel privileged to be a part of this and have everyone here standing up. It's so important. It's the most important thing. So I just want to say thank you.
Thank you. Are there others that would like to comment?
You know, I'd just like to point out that anyone can make a bunch of slides. I can make a bunch of slides, and I can make and twist data and make it show what I want it to say. Anybody can do that. You talk about staffing levels and that the administrators had to go and teach some classes. Guess what? Every business I've been in has a now hiring sign out front, not just the public schools. So a couple weeks ago, you know, we had like 3 call-offs. My boss and her boss and her boss's boss all came and helped us out. The administrators, yeah, they came. And they didn't tell us to mask up because they were afraid that there might be some more call-offs. So don't blame it on the staffing levels. And don't blame it on, we can't hire nobody. I've seen reports of how many different school districts where parents are driving their kids to school because the bus can't make it there, because there's no bus driver, right?
They have masks on in the bus, so.
So they're not getting it from the bus.
Excuse me.
You've heard all this stuff, talking about how it's illegal, how, and you're just gonna go right ahead and say, well, we decided anyway, you're gonna have to wear a mask, even though we know it's on the decline. And you did. What I found amazing, the other part I found was that you waited to quarantine a bunch of kids until after the count date. Yes. That's just so wrong. You guys should be ashamed of yourselves if that's what you did. You guys need to look at the money. Thanks.
Thank you.
Hi, my name is Richard Egner. I'm a longtime Bedford resident. I currently have a daughter in the school system right now, and I don't really have much else to say. I mean, everything's pretty much been covered. I agree with everything that's been said so far. Just wanted to say that, you know, I'm not against masks, but the best thing to do is make a choice. If the individual wants to wear one, great. If they don't, that should be their choice, the parent's choice. Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Seeing no one else approaching the podium, I will close public commentary. And we will move on to items for the next committee of the whole meeting. Are there items that any of the board members would like to share at this time?
I have one. I would like a report on how community ed is doing financially, so we don't have to dig them out of the hole this year.
Dee, do you want a separate report from the audit? It will be in the audit. Or do you want to report from this point to the?
I'd like to hear really from her what she's done differently. Last year was pretty bad. I know it was COVID in that, but now this stuff, so. I'd like to know where she stands. We took care of Latchkey. Latchkey had to turn around and give them their money, so I want to see how she's doing. Okay? And one more, end of life. Are we working on that, Tom? Is that your job now?
Well, yes, it is his job now. No, it is part of our goals this year. It will be presented in its entirety to the board at an upcoming meeting.
Okay.
It's not 100% complete yet, so
Well, it's huge.
but
It's huge.
Yeah, it's a massive undertaking, but
Sure.
we are working through it.
Even if we have little bits of it, so we can sort of, Lisa, when I used to come to meetings, started asking for this, how long ago? 8 years? 9 years?
Yeah.
I'd really like to see where we're at with that, please. Thanks.
Okay, thanks, Dee. So I have a couple, and since we're going to have the audit next week, I'll leave it up to you, Dr. Schultz, and your team on how we want to how we want to prioritize and bring this to the meeting, either the next meeting or the following meeting. But because some of these I'm unsure of as well, so I think it would be important to share it. That what are the criteria involved with books and our acceptance of books into our library, both physical and virtual. I think there another opportunity for us to talk about public school education funding and how Count Day impacts or does not impact, and the timing of Count Day and it being a physical day versus 2 times a year. So I think an opportunity to talk about Count Day and then funding and how that's associated, please. Also, I think you mentioned this already, so I think you're already preparing it, but what are our options in terms of virtual learning? I know that we have applied and you have shared that information on applying for virtual school because that's the best case scenario we could end up. But at this point, is there anything else we can do to influence that application process or the approval so that we can move that forward? But outside of that, I know you have shared that you are looking at additional options. So I think if I were to prioritize, that would probably be critical to know sooner rather than later. The other, I guess the last one, and again, understanding the communication of any surveys that we send to our student, or we ask our students to participate in. And our opportunity to look at the communication and look at additional communication methods that will allow parents to have a little more lead time and perhaps some opportunity and understanding of opting out for their particular students. So all of that by tomorrow. No, just kidding. Nope, we're not. So, yeah, I don't want to entertain, I mean, we can talk after, yeah, because I can't open it up. I can't allow one person and not others, and I know you're a regular, and so you, we do have some talk, but. Sure. Can you get closer to your mic, sorry? Oh.
When the survey was administered, as was mentioned in the meeting, a parent brought some concerns about the content of the survey to my attention. Are they unplugged? And then I looked myself and I was concerned, so I paused any further administrations of that survey.
Thank you.
Thank you, Dr. French. And again, I think it's an opportunity to look at, we have lessons we learn here as well. So, I mean, it's the opportunity to look at all student either led or student active surveys and what we're asking our students to do, whether it's in a classroom or district-wide. So thank you for taking that. Okay, any other items from the rest of the board members?
Lisa, I don't know if it elevates to the level of the next cow, but it was asked recently from someone, are we ever going to get student representatives back on the board, or are administrators ever going to come here and give their updates like they used to? We used to have a different principal come and rotate, and we stopped doing that, I know, because we went virtual, but
Yeah, I think we can, check into it and find out. Yeah, I miss having the student for sure. Okay, any other items from the rest of the board? Okay, seeing none, I'm going to go ask for a motion to adjourn the meeting. Can I get a motion to?
Madam President,
Megan,
I motion to adjourn this meeting.
is there support? Support. I think I heard Griffin. This is non-debatable. All those in favor, aye?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. Meeting's adjourned at 8:51.